We're looking at Unit 6, Topic 2, questions 4 and 5. The first question is about a frog jumping, and we have an equation, but the most important thing we have is we have this graph. We're looking at a parabola, a quadratic. These vocabulary terms are going to be really big ideas to work on. The vertex. The vertex is the peak, the highest spot of the graph. All they want to know is what that point is. It says 0.4, comma 12, but we'll talk about what that stuff means in a second. The x value is, what is our x-axis? Well, we're looking at time. In this case, we're looking specifically in terms of seconds. If we look at the y-axis, we're looking at a term of height. And again, here we're looking at in terms of inches because of what it's given us. The zeros are those very important features where we cross the x-axis. In this case, you can write it as 0, comma 0, and you could write it as 0.8, comma 0. Sometimes I like to write x equals 0, x equals 0.8, just two ways to represent the information. But let's interpret the information. How long was the frog in the air? Well, it jumps, it's still in the air, in the air, in the air. It was in the air at that other 0. So it was in the air for 0.8. And let's try and put the unit behind it, seconds. How high did the frog jump? Let's go in the other way. We saw the high number was 12. So 12 in this term, it happens to be inches. Looking at the big idea, the domain and the range. The domain is the x-axis again. This is going back. So if we look in this case, the x-axis starts at 0 and goes as far as 0.8. How about the y-axis? How low does it go? How high does it go? Well, again, 0 is our bottom, and it peaks at that other number, 12. The vertex gives me that, and those zeros happens to give me that.
All right, let's give it a go. Here we go. Ooh, that stung. I think I over-rotated. Yep.
I know it's silly, but I'm trying to get better at stuff. So here we go. The diver is starting at a height. That's why the video is showing 0, comma 3. Jumps in the air, not quite like mine, but ultimately comes all the way back down to where? Not the same height as the diving board. We'll talk about that in a second. These are just questions, and we have to find all of the statements. That doesn't mean one answer. There's going to be more than one. Does a diver begin 5 or 3 meters? Well, that information is going to be told me right here. I hope you see it, okay? The function has 1 0 or 2 zeros. Well, that's interesting. In my brain, there's 2, but that makes sense in this situation. What axis typically goes along the bottom? Seconds, time. Ask yourself, can you go back in time? You see the problem here. There's only one that makes sense in this situation. So this one's an out. The last part it says the graph starts at the origin and curves upward. I see a curvature, but the origin is a unique point called 0, comma 0. I didn't actually start on the ground, so the answer to this one is also no. The diver begins at the same height as the water level. Well, he enters the water here, starts at no. That's also false, just so you know. So good luck with the rest of your worksheet.